Welcome to Filter Through Coffee, the podcast hosted by two dope Black officiants. As wedding officiants, we pour our hearts into every love story we tell, and this podcast is no different. So grab your favorite mug, pour yourselves a cup, and join us in rich wedding conversations that are for us, by us.
Welcome to Filter Through Coffee. We are the podcast where candid wedding conversations are brewed with authenticity and some culture. So, welcome back. I mean, this is our umpteenth episode. I don't know which one it is, but hey, it's more than one, right? So we're here, we're doing it. And so I'm Reverend Whitney Marie, one of your co-hosts and West Coast wedding officiant and owner of Rev I Do Officiating. And then I have my co-creator, co-visionary, co-imaginer, thebomb.com from the East Coast, wedding officiant, and I would say educator to the masses, right? My girl Tiara with Royal Treatment with Tiara. So in Jersey, I was just saying I got to get out there. So
yes,
we're here. We're the ones that are saying, let's guide this conversation because it's for us, by us. So who's sipping with us today? Who is our conversation for? Well, our conversation is for our engaged couples. So I know you just put a ring on it and you didn't just said yes. And you didn't said like, okay, I'm ready. This for y'all. Yes. This for y'all who have been out there like shopping. It was like, I think it's her. I think it's him. I think it's them. This for y'all. And so as wedding officiants, we accompany couples down the aisle and into matrimony. But before we say I do, we walk our couples through this process of exchanging their vows. And so with this topic, what better expert to talk about this with than ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so for today's segment of the Kiki Corner, we're going to dive right into rapid fire questions about this very topic.
Yeah.
So, Tiara.
Yes.
You ready?
I am.
Okay, you only have 60 seconds to answer each question.
Okay.
And I'm going to time you.
Okay.
Well, at least Alexa is. All right, so are you ready?
I'm ready.
Set?
Let's do it. Yep.
Let's sip. Okay. Your first question, is there a recommended length of time for your vows?
Oh, that's a good one. That is such a common question. This is what I tell couples. It's not about a length of time. It's about them being equally yoked in time so that you and your partner are saying your vows and they're about around the same amount of time. Personally, I say 3 to 5 minutes because as you practice, which I hope you practice, but as you practice, time yourself and see how long it's actually taking you to speak your words. I will probably guess you'll be in between 3 to 5 minutes, and longer than that, you're going to feel like you're talking, too long. So as you practice, time yourself a couple of times, and I would say share your length of time with your partner, not your words. Not all the good, juicy details, just the length of time that your vows is going to take you, and encourage them to time themselves as well.
Okay, 10 seconds to spare. Good answer, Family Feud style. All right, okay, your second question. Have you seen an uptrend of couples opting for this thing called private vows?
Actually, I want to say it's about 50-50. I would say it's about 50-50. I like the option of, private vows for couples who may, have a little bit of nervousness around being in front of everybody or speaking or just feel like they're going to be too emotional. It's like you get to have that release of emotions in the moment. And there's also different ways that you can do your vows. So don't feel confined to having them, be either public or private. You can do a mix of both, or you can pick what you want because it's your wedding. But I definitely say it's about 50-50. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, getting faster and faster. Maybe we should make this time like 30 seconds now. Because wham, bam. Okay. So last question. What is your professional opinion on phones for couples to read their vows from?
Wow, that's a really good question. My professional opinion is no. Okay. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
No, there's definitely ways that you can share your vows. The phone is the absolute last resort. That's like I left my paper at home and all I have is my phone to read it off of. One, because phones are just bulky, more than likely you don't have you want your photos to look nice, so they tell you take things out of your pockets and make sure everything is flat. Same thing for the ladies. If you got dressed with pockets, you already ahead of the game. Let me just tell you.
Already.
You're already ahead of the game, but you definitely don't want your phone, just weighing you down and making sure it's on silent. Just save yourself the trouble, print it out or write them out in a beautiful like vows book. There's so many. There's some on Etsy and Amazon. I'm sure you can probably even make them yourselves or you might get gifted. But definitely no phones.
As mine goes off. I love that. Okay. All right. Okay, so what I've gathered from you is no phones.
Yes.
50-50 split when it comes to private vows or wanting to showcase their vows or say them in front of others.
Yeah.
And then say the time ahead of time in practice.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. That's the Kiki Corner, the rapid fire tidbits for how to do your vows if you're a couple and where we going, right?
Love that. Yeah.
So let's bring it all the way back. So we didn't got the rapid fire. We didn't got all of the juices from, the queen of the East. That's cute. I like that. What are vows and what are your options? I mean, let's what are these things? Like people saying like, you got to prepare. We got to write them. You got these different options.
Yeah.
If I'm new to this, what are vows? Why are we saying them? And are they necessary? What are they? And then what are my options?
Yes, I love that. So yeah, definitely. Vows to me are the soul of the ceremony. I tell all of my couples that whether they're doing public vows, private vows, it don't matter. I just feel like they're the soul of the ceremony. It's really that opportunity for your guests, your family, your friends to really see your person how you see them. So that's kind of my whole vibe with it. But, it looks like your promises for the future. It looks like, your affirmations for your partner. It looks like, just anything that you want to share on such a special day that is going to be captured, and replayed. So I'm a big, big, big advocate for the vows. That's usually when my little solo Denzel tear,
Come on, not the glory tear. That's a glory
tear. It'd be right there in the corner, like holding on. I'm like, girl, you better, and you better, and you better. So that's really, that vows are just, I love vows. I love just being there. And I think there's a lot, like a misconception of, you're being fearful of like what to say. And I can assure you, anything you say your partner is going to want to hear that day from your voice in that moment. So don't get super caught up on like, is it going to be good enough or what am I going to, it's all like, they don't listen. You could say 1, 2, buckle my shoe. I love you.
They still saying, I do, baby. I do.
Don't get caught up. They chose you for a reason. They know how you speak to them. So just do your big one for them for real. So that's how I feel about vows.
Okay. So that's how you feel about vows.
Yes.
But what are they though? Like what are the options, should I say, for vows? So you said they the soul of the ceremony.
Yes.
Okay, so what are my options of expressing my soul?
Yeah, so there's definitely, you can do public vows. That can look like you writing your own vows. That can look like your officiant writing vows for you as they get to know you, and then you can kind of collaborate with them if that's not your strong suit. That looks like, just having some words said and you saying, I do. These are the vows that we are putting together and that we're walking into our marriage with, and what we're saying we're going to be and do for each other. So that's truly just a couple of options if you want to do it publicly. You can even do a repeat after me where, maybe you don't feel comfortable reading in that moment. Maybe you wear glasses, you know they're gonna get fogged up because you're crying. I don't know. Right, exactly. So there's options. So you can even collaborate again with your officiant and do repeat after me vows, where maybe you write something, or again, y'all write something in collaboration, and they kind of feed it to you, you know, over time, slowly. So it's that. And then also, if you want to do private is
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. It can look like your first look, where you just, you know, meet each other before the ceremony, really take it in that moment, get to really, you know, brag on each other because
Right.
you look the best. Okay,
Come
that's
on
the
here.
best you're gonna look for the
You
night.
just look,
No, I'm joking,
yeah,
but
right. Because then all the tears and all the,
right.
yeah, go ahead.
So you know, you can share your vows in that moment. Same thing, maybe you don't want to look at each other. Maybe you just want to feel each other's presence. Maybe that hand holding is just very calm and, you know, reassuring to you. So you can share your vows in that way, where you are not looking at each other. Maybe you're on opposite sides of a wall and you're just connected with hand holding and you're sharing your words to each other. Or, you know, maybe you wrote a letter. Maybe you wrote a letter, you know, the night before to send to your partner the morning of. And it's just, again, those private shared words where you are just speaking about how excited you are for what the future is going to entail. Like today is really just the beginning. So speaking to your future is very much what I love most about vows. Yeah.
Look, you got me over here like.
I know. It's my favorite part. It's my favorite part, especially as a officiant. What about you?
Well, I ditto. Look, I talk about like the little tear. Uh, I would definitely say that when it comes to vows, right? I find that that is the part of the ceremony that we came for.
Yeah.
We came to hear what you're saying I do to.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everybody is waiting to hear the I do in some way.
Yeah.
And this is it. Let a ceremony happen and then nobody say I do or have any type of solemn vow.
Right.
Folks start looking around like, well, what was this? Did we just witness y'all get dressed up
Right.
to do what? Like, what are you promising? Y'all ain't promised each other nothing.
Right.
And so I think that's another thing. The vows to me are the moment that we're bearing witness,
Yeah.
so that we know what we bearing witness to and what we can hold you accountable as you go forth.
I love
And
that.
so for me, I'm definitely all about the vows
Yeah.
because it's a matter of, and it ties into your guest list.
Yes.
People think, everybody can come to my wedding. No, you can't, because
Yeah.
everybody can't bear witness and hold me accountable at the same time to this union.
I
And
love
that's how I
that.
look at vows. The vows are the couple saying to each other, I'm talking to you, baby, but they listening to us.
Yeah.
And so it's the conversation of the moment.
Yeah.
And then we go celebrate and you go do what you're going to do and have fun. But why are we here? We're here to bear witness to y'all saying what y'all going to do, and we're going to hold y'all accountable. And that's the vows to me.
I
That's
love
the
that.
vows to me.
I love
And I
those.
love the private and public breakdown that you did. I haven't had many experiences with the private vows, actually.
Okay.
It's been, I mean, of course, because I'm in the public, but even with my couples, needing support, I haven't really had that trend out here as much.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about that. Like why?
It's funny because I would say for my couples who have done private vows, they also do public vows. So they typically do
Okay,
both.
okay. So it's not either or.
Exactly. It's not either
Okay,
or. For
okay,
couples who come in the gate and they're like, yeah, I'm not writing my own vows, they typically stick with public vows, but maybe ones that I write for them, or the more traditional ones.
okay,
And then the ones who like, nah, I'm writing my own vows, they're just writing their own vows. So yeah, for my couples who choose to do private vows, they also do public vows, and their public vows are
okay,
original
okay.
as well. Yeah.
So they might be doing private vows, but it's private, and I don't know. Okay. It's a girl. It was private for a reason.
Right.
Look, you've been
Listen,
in all the business up until now. Can we have a moment, please?
I always somehow like make it, somewhere in the backgrounds. Like I remember one time I was doing the ceremony, I was like outside just practicing on my own. And the next, the bride just walked by, and then I looked and I saw the groom over there. I said, oh, snap. So like I kind of walked like I was in the moment, but like not really in the moment. I was like, so I kind of peeked around the corner, but I do find myself just stumbling into into
To
those
all the
moments,
private moments.
right? To all the private moments.
Sound like you're behind nosy is what it sounds like. The spirit of nosiness. No.
I just had to make my way,
And listen, just
just
making my
walking down the
way
hallway,
downtown.
right? Listen, love is attracted to me. It gravitates. Okay, I walk right
Ooh.
on into it in the mist.
Oh, I like that language. Love is attracted to me. And that is why you are an incredible wedding officiant.
Yeah.
You know, like if love wasn't gravitating towards you, then what's the point?
Yeah, what the
I like
point?
that.
Exactly.
Love is attracted. Look,
Yeah.
I'm writing this down.
Right.
Look.
Oh, it's so good. So you talked a lot about, why vows is an important aspect of the wedding ceremony. And I loved how you kind of wrapped around that we're bearing witness, right? Like this is really the epitome of what we're coming for, to hear what your promises are, and like you said, to hold you accountable as your community, as your cherished loved ones who made the guest list, right? You're including us for a reason. And I do think that aspect is a little bit lost, especially when you talk about why guests come to the wedding ceremony. I know a lot of guests like to show up at the cocktail hour. They like to show up at the reception. Yes, we get it. But the whole point of why you're so sacredly chosen is because I'm asking you to be a witness to what we are saying to each other publicly, to hold us accountable in private moments. So I feel like that's a important and, impactful aspect that gets overlooked. I don't think I've even communicated that to my couples in that type of way. So thank you. And everyone listening, listen, gold, baby, gold. Okay. So what do you think the role of authenticity plays when it comes to writing your vows and even just speaking your vows, right? I think there's sometimes a lack of confidence that comes from doing it publicly. How can we just really embrace that authenticity is the best way to go? Like, don't be worried about nobody else, baby. It's me and you. It's just, you know what I mean? So, yeah, let's get into that.
Well, one, the role of authenticity is key.
Yeah.
Period. Because I could tell when someone's brother wrote their vows. And so if I could tell, daggone well the spouse can tell.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things, this is what I ask. Would you want someone else writing a love letter to you from your wife?
Yeah.
Would you want a ghostwriter?
Right.
Like, let's keep it funky. Like, do you want a ghostwriter in the sense of someone else conveying your message inauthentically?
Right.
Because I'm not saying like don't do repeat after me or don't have an officiant assist you and collaborate with you. That's being, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the authenticity component of ghostwriting. Because it ain't you.
Yeah.
Your heart isn't in it.
Yeah.
If you ain't in it. Right, so I need you to get in it.
Yeah.
And if it's raggedy, like that's where I come in.
Right.
Give me your raggedy draft.
Yeah.
And then I can help you finesse it. So look, you ain't gonna embarrass us up there. Look. Right. It become a we up there, okay? You're not about to embarrass us up there with your vows. No, absolutely. But I say that in jest, but I also say that in reality and truth.
Yeah.
One couple, one of the grooms, he was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I said, how do you normally talk to your boo thing?
Right.
And he was like, well, I do playlists. We are big R&B song, like aficionados. Like that's us.
Yep.
I said, well, then write your baby a playlist.
I love that.
And the vows flowed. They were dope. It was one of those ones where you were like, I wish I could have got a copy. Because they were so good. But because he was able to look at it through the lens in which he was able to show his love language to his fiance.
Yeah.
That's what a vow is. That's the authenticity piece that I'm talking about. How do you show up to them? How do you speak to them?
Yep.
Well, then speak to them that way.
Yep.
And I've had people who also got help from the DJ. to say like, hey, push play here when I say this, you know, to add in the music piece, to add in, you know, the finessing.
Yeah.
I've had people who are writers who are like, I'm a poet, but I've heard it's supposed to look,
Yeah.
I tell people the only thing I'm supposed to say is by the power vested in me. Okay. Everything else we make up and make it unique to you.
Yeah.
And so create the vows and craft them authentically to you. So if you are a songwriter, write your baby a song. If you are someone who doesn't necessarily you're not good with words, make a running list of what you love about them.
Yeah.
And then have fun describing it in detail.
Yes.
And then have fun describing it in a lot more detail.
Yes.
If you know what I mean.
Right.
And then be able to pick out of the detail that you've described the things that you want to share with us, bearing witness, and there are your vows. So it doesn't always have to be, I vowed to that. No.
Right.
It is, what is your promise? And how are you going to deliver it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you rapping it to me, singing it to me? One man he sang a whole song, got nervous, choked up. He was like, excuse me, y'all, I'm nervous. Well, keep going, brother. This is good. Okay. It was even in the choking and even in the pause and even in the, oops, I missed a step, or oops, I missed a paragraph, or let me go back. And that's the humanity of your vows.
Yeah.
Your delivery is your humanity in the moment to your partner. So I think all that to say authenticity is incredibly important, because as long as it is from you to them, that's authenticity.
Absolutely. I would have to 110% agree with you. I think what's really cool also with authenticity is that you get to have an element of surprise there, right? When you really lean into your quirks and what really, feeds your relationship. So I think that part we kind of don't take full advantage of, right? Not us as officiants, but like for our couples, like we really are, at least I want to do more to encourage my couples to take full advantage of the creativity and the element of surprise that you can have for your partner in that moment, because they don't know what you're about to say, right? But if you go back and you're talking about, this one time that only y'all guys, you know what I mean, know what happened there, and you're just sharing how that impacted you, or again, just how your delivery is, right? You want your delivery to be extremely authentic. Like I said, that person's just waiting to hear what you're going to say in that moment. It does not, matter what it is. It's just the fact that it's coming from you. And and today is the day. Okay. And you know what I mean? That just adds another element to it. So I would say absolutely lean into your authenticity. If you want to do something quirky, but your partner going to get it, it's only about y'all. Again, we can't emphasize enough. We're literally bearing witness. Imagine we were just all on the couch watching this on TV.
We are the fly on the wall.
We're the fly on the wall. We are the fly on the wall. So take that, right? And run with it. Take that and run with it. And so I love authenticity because it really just, again, showcases exactly who that couple is, and everybody who is in attendance knows who you guys are as well. And again, it just leans into that is so them, right? This is just, I knew that I just knew, you know what I mean? I just knew. So give the people what they want. They want to see y'all on display. That's what they got cute for. That's what they did their hair and their makeup for. That's why they're spending their time with you. So they want to be there to support and celebrate everything and be surprised and feel loved, and feel the love as well. So, don't shy away from that. Use it as a superpower and, go hard for your baby.
Go hard for your baby. I like that. Okay. So there's someone out there who is saying, look, I'm about to go hard for my baby.
Right.
I'm about to lean into both the private, the public. Like, I'm listening to y'all. Where do I start?
Right.
like how can couples find like the inspiration for writing their vows? Like, especially when we're just like, well, they, them, we, we don't know where to start. Where does one even, what's the first step?
Yeah.
Just saying, okay, I'm gonna show up for my baby. I'm gonna go hard for my baby. What is the step for that?
Oh man, that's so good. First, I would say put yourself in a comfortable environment. I think a
Mm.
lot of times, we need to be like fully relaxed. There's already a lot of additional pressure that you have internally, pressure that you think other people putting on you, whether they acknowledge, verbally saying it to you or it's just perceived pressure. So I think just putting yourself in a comfortable environment, getting your favorite beverage, having some allocated time, like literally time blocking off, some space where you're just alone and writing them down. Starting with I suggest 3 prompts, right? This is what I always tell my couples. The first one is go down memory lane, right? Go back to y'all first date, when you first met, the first impressions, and how so much has developed and changed over that time, right? So, if you guys started dating, 2 years ago and y'all first date was at, I don't know, Papi Chulos for tacos, and you started this Taco Tuesday tradition where then you guys were now going to all these different taco spots for your dates or whatever. I'm giving one of my stories away, but I'm just saying, whatever it is, start from the beginning and look at the history and the change that you guys have and the impact that you had on each other's lives. I think the second one is really writing an affirmations letter to your partner, right? How is them like what about their personality and what about them just organically gives you a good impression or has a positive influence on you or just has grown you in a way that you didn't maybe like see for yourself, or like just the way that they say certain things just make you want to be somebody else, and like speak to those things, right? Because that's something that is invaluable. Like that person can only be them, and you're saying you only being you inspires me to be a better me. So speak to those things and let them know that they're doing it right and you want to see that moving forward, and that's why you're here, and that's what you want to nurture and protect, and that's what you that's how you got me. So really speak
Just how
to
you
those.
got me, baby.
That's how you got me. Okay, so yeah, definitely
I love that. That's how you
yeah,
got me, baby.
I love that. And then also speaking to your future, what are the
Mm.
plans that you guys have? What have you talked about that you want to see, come into fruition? I love for couples to almost write a like future, a letter to their future selves, a letter to, what their life is going to look like in 5 years and 10 years, all the things that you want to do, all the things you can accomplish with this person by your side. And look at where you're at as a track record, right? All the things that you've accomplished so far, that you can do it with that person. So anything you got moving forward is like, oh, it's me and you, we locked in. You know what I mean? So speak to what you want that future to look like, what you want your future marriage to look like, your future legacy, your future family, whatever it is that you are connecting with this person and going off on this adventure to go see about, right? What's your life gonna look like? So those are the 3 prompts that I typically give my couples to kind of start off: memory lane, an affirmations letter, and a letter to the future. Yeah.
Well, y'all heard it. That's where you start, y'all. I wrote it down too if y'all didn't. I mean, that's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Now, what are some expectations that need to be set?
Mhm.
And then what are some that need to be dismantled around writing your vows? What would you say around that?
Yeah, I think as far as let's start with dismantling expectations, because I think sometimes that's just as important as setting them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sometimes even more important because you don't even know you had them. And now, you have this again pressure that's invisible, but you feel it. It's one of those things. You feel it but you don't know where it's coming from. Well, let's dismantle them. I think there's an expectation around whether they are supposed to be romantic, whether they can be a little bit funny, and what does that look like. I think there's expectations around, like, is it okay to bring in sexual jokes? I see that a lot. And a lot of times when you see that online, there's a lot of negative comments, right? A lot of negative comments. But you don't know what they into. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know if that's how they speak to each other and that's just the language that they have with each other. And you don't know if that was embarrassing to her. You may feel secondhand embarrassment, but she ain't even embarrassed in the first place.
She probably like, and will,
Okay.
and did, and do.
Is. Right.
And is.
And
is.
And that was, and we gonna do it again.
I'll do it again. Wrap this up, preacher woman, because we about to do it now.
We love them too. Like, we love them too. So I think, yeah, definitely just dismantling what if you felt any expectations, first labeling them. What expectations do you feel? Because I think a lot of the times we subconsciously feel some type of way and we brush it off to the side instead of calling it out verbally and then trying to figure out where that came from. So if you are already feeling pressure, if you are already feeling like there's expectations around it, call it out, label it, talk about, what it is, and have that conversation be with your partner, right? You guys are going to have tough conversations for the rest of this time that y'all spending together. So, really starting here in this wedding planning phase is going to be beneficial. So have those conversations about what those pressures you feel are. And then for setting expectations, I feel like the only expectation I'll really set is, again, just want to make sure we're equally yoked in time. I don't want you to feel slighted by me being 2 minutes and you at 10. Like, I just want us to make sure we, here with it. So I would say those are the two that I would be most mindful of and what I've learned from couples that I've worked with.
Okay. And so what is your take on using AI to help support writing vows?
Yes. That's interesting because, well, one, I think AI is really good. I think sometimes it can be robotic. So you definitely want to make sure that you personalize them, or maybe you want to start and have them enhanced, or maybe you're using AI completely in the beginning where it's like, give me 5 prompts to help me start writing my vows, right? Because there's different ways that you can use the technology. So you just want to make sure that whatever it produces, you want to go back, comb through it again, just make sure that is authentic to you, that it uses words that you would use. Sometimes AI be like rich tapestry.
The rich tapestry.
Right. I ain't never used those 2 words together ever in my life. What? So you want to, fine tooth comb it again, make sure that it is for you. Now, I've never had couples use this software called Providence. Yeah. I've never had couples use it. I have definitely heard about it. I know it is essentially kind of like a writing assistance type of software. It helps you your writing at different levels, but it's focused in the wedding space and for the wedding industry. So that's another, again, resource that couples can use. But speaking with your officiant, I think is really, your best bet, that human, that person-to-person connection. Mainly if you're working with a professional officiant, I don't know if your step uncle, can help you with something like this. But if you're working with someone professional,
like, girl, I don't know.
Yeah, right. Like, oh,
Yeah, you asking me too much stuff. Okay, I'm already nervous about doing this one thing you told me that I look. Okay,
I already got to write
my
the script.
wheelhouse. You asked me. I said yes because I love you. Now I'm over here practicing and looking on YouTube how to do a wedding. No, I'm not about to do this too, girl. Figure it out.
Listen, I'm already writing your ceremony script. I got to write your vows too. So yes, definitely.
If professional.
You're going if you're going pro, work with, the pro that you're working, that you're hiring and that you're trusting to help you, formulate the words for your day. But I would say that would be my take on AI. Use it as enhancer, maybe use it as a way to get you started, as like a prompt. But definitely look into, again, you just got to go back and make sure that it is authentic, that it is true to you, that is the language that you use. And you absolutely have to practice that. I feel like even more because it's not even in the flow of what you write. So I think when you read something that you don't write, it kind of feels, you got to keep practicing to make it feel second nature. So don't underestimate that too. Yeah.
It's interesting because I actually had one couple, there was a bride who she was like, I waited to the last minute. All I got are a bunch of notes and I couldn't get it together.
Yeah.
And I had to calm her down and be like, well, you didn't wait to the last minute. You got a bunch of notes.
Right.
And so using the notes, like that's another thing, like as you are going through life and this time you're gearing up for your wedding, like if you see something that you want and it holds dear and it speaks to you, just write a note about it.
Yeah.
And I told her to put them notes, copy them notes in the chat GPT because you about to go to your, I mean, like, I feel like it's also, it was expedient at the time to help craft what she was already feeling.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was writing it for her. It was crafting her words in a way that she felt comfortable to read out loud.
Yeah.
And so I felt like that was a really great way to use AI in a time frame that we had. And then also with she was already prepared. She was like, this what I got, but it don't look like what it's supposed to help. Yeah. And I said, you mean 24 hours before? If you don't put that in chat GPT? She was like, and then afterwards, I said, did you write that in chat GPT? She said, girl, chat GPT did that one. I said, oh, shut up. She said, girl, everybody been complimenting me. I said, but you guided the hand, right?
Yes.
Yeah. To write your love story. And so that's how I look at that being, like you said, an enhancer and not the tell-all.
Yes. Yeah. And the other piece of that is like ChatGPT, it learns your language, as you speak to it. So yeah, I'm sure having those notes help because it was mostly her language. And then again, it's just
exactly. It was like, here's the paragraph. You're like, that's it.
No, I love that. So I think one thing that is important is, balance, and what couples speak to, what they want is balance within their vows, within their ceremony altogether. So how do you guide couples on striking a balance, right? With length and time, even with just like visuals. Weddings is a very aesthetic,
absolutely
time. And so they want these photographs to be timeless, last forever. They want to be transported back into that moment. So how do you guide couples with that and keeping balance in mind? Because that's also a concern.
Absolutely. So a couple things. One of the things that I've started doing was actually getting out of the way of the vows.
I love that.
And so depending on their nerves, I would try to balance either holding the mic for both of them or neither of them. So that there's that balance aesthetically with the photos.
Yeah.
So that's one piece. Another piece about balance is if one is doing the phone, I encourage them both to do the phone.
Okay.
Right. So instead of like, oh, I forgot my vow book upstairs. And then it's like, well, I can't prepare. It's like, what? So you like, and so it's one of those things of like, are we a united front or not?
Yeah.
And so that is the conversation that I essentially have with the couples. Okay. How do you become a united front? And this is a great way to practice. You brought it up earlier. Yours should not be 7 minutes and mine is 12 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, let's balance that out. Why don't we do 2 and 2? How do I get to hold you and what you have, right? Yeah. And what you're offering. And then the balance of recognizing that it also doesn't mean the same. So even though I said vow book and 2 phone, I feel like aesthetically that works. But if someone is like, hey, I really need you to do a repeat after me for me because of my nerves, or I have a stutter, or I just am not good with spotlight, let's do that. Right. And then being able to say that's going to take for, 2 minutes. So if the person says, well, I don't want to do a repeat, I want to do write my own, yours should be 2 minutes.
Right.
So it's like they're coming differently, but they're coming with that balance of the same time and being guided in showing up in different ways, their own way. Yeah. And so I think the balance really depends on what the couple sees as balance too. Yeah. So I've also recognized that she liked her vow book and he liked his phone. And we doing it in the pictures because it's their wedding. Yeah. So I think there's also the recognition that balance for me is not always balance for the couple.
Yeah.
And recognizing that as much as I've pushed a couple to want to balance out their vows, I've had beautiful ceremonies and imbalanced timed, vows. One was like, I am not a writer. And everyone knows that. This is my love for you. Boom. Short and sweet. And then this one did a soliloquy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those things of, what does showing up look like for y'all?
Yeah.
And is it something that is balanced for y'all?
Mm-hmm.
If you like it, I love it. I mean, because why am I going to try and like persuade your balance?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think there becomes a discussion that should happen beforehand, and not up there, but it can happen up there at the altar too. Like, oh, you forgot your Bible? Okay. So you putting yours away? Okay. What are we doing? Right. Like those moments can happen up there, but I also feel like, what does preparation look like?
Yeah.
For us to show up as our authentic selves as a union?
Mm-hmm.
Are we both showing up with phones? Are we doing it off the top of the dome? Are we both being guided? Are you doing this and I'm doing that? Whatever that conversation is, it's balanced when y'all okay with it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. There's the aesthetic. Hey, you know, the photographer might say, hey, I wish you would have stepped out the way. Well, he asked me to hold the mic.
Right.
So who gets to be trumped here?
Yeah.
Right? Like the groom said, my hands are shaking. I can't do mic and vow book.
Yeah.
So hold this mic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm now in the pictures.
Yeah.
And the photographer was like, get out of the way. And I'm like, no. So it's, you know, it's just one of those things where you have to take each move and movement per the couple, per the setting, per the aesthetic, per the goal. Some folks like, I don't care what these pictures look like because I'm not here for the pictures. Yeah. I'm here for my baby. And she forgot her vow book, and I'm doing mine on top of the dome. So look at us. We're doing this together. So I do believe it is a conversation of how do you show up united.
Yeah. I agree. And it's funny because a lot of the times I do see, you know, couples who are like, oh, I'm gonna go off the top of the dome, and then the other partner is like, no, I'm writing my stuff starting today, and maybe we're like 6 months out, something like that. I do feel like sometimes as we get closer to, the personalities swap, right?
Listen.
So our super productive, proactive is now like, okay, I got half of it. I got a week left, girl. You got time on your calendar. Let's walk this through, right? Mm-hmm. Where the other one's like, yeah, I'm gonna go off the dome. Like, oh yeah, I finished mine, you know, like 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Love them. You know, and I'm like, okay, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. So
that is fun.
I've also noticed that it's like, you know, you think you're going to be one way at the beginning, and then as time go on, as life happens, as whatever's, like then the personality again like switches. And so I think that's funny because it still balances each other, right? They just switch. So,
they just switch. The scale is still balanced.
Right, exactly.
But that speaks to something, right? It speaks to how balance doesn't just happen aesthetically.
Right.
There's the emotional component. Right, of them showing up and being so balanced in their union. So how can couples then infuse their personal love stories into their wedding vows? Like, how can you specifically, you know, incorporate, maybe that's humor or some examples of your love story or how you met? Like, I know you spoke about it a little bit earlier, but what are some ways that you have guided couples to actually do that? I know you did say your whole go down memory lane, your prompts, like you gave that like really great answer. But anything else you want to add about emotional balance into vows?
Yeah, I think it's really important to, I would say with the emotional balance, I always think about in the moment, right? So like you're saying, one partner is just very nervous, or they're shaking, or they're kind of like crying and they didn't kind of expect themselves to, or maybe they did and they knew they was going to cry from the beginning. So it's just like the way that the partners hold each other, extending a hand, letting them know it's okay, wiping their tears, or just showing that they're there for them as they move through their emotions really speaks to how they carry them. You know, what I see in our meetings and what I know they're going to have in their relationship moving forward. But I think that being that person that's like, I don't know where you're going to be emotionally, because it'd be like that too, where the men be like, oh, I ain't going to crack, and be boo-hooing and be boo-hooing. Okay. So I think that is really another way for you guys to balance each other emotionally and in that moment, right? But as far as incorporating your love story, well, there's so many ways that you can do it, right? So we spoke about speaking on, specific dates. You could talk about moments where you knew this person was going to be around, right? Or again, your first impression of them, what your first date looked like. It's still like a question I asked in my questionnaire that's like, was there an experience that you had that was like, I know this person got my back. You know what I mean? Or what are some habits guilty habits that you guys love and that you do together? So talk about the different quirky aspects of your relationship. Again, what drew you guys to one another? What have you guys accomplished? What have you guys, trials or tribulations that you've been able to get a hurdle over? We not looking to know all of your business. You can definitely sum it up, really nicely, or just speak in general terms, like life transitions or health scares or whatever. Like we don't have to go into specifics, but speak to how that person supported you and carried you, through that moment. How are they your better half? Maybe you can even speak to what are some of their strengths that complement your weaknesses, and speak to if you're complementary or if you're opposites, or however it is that you feel like you show up and you are paired and work well together. You can speak to those things too. I think it's a lot of opportunity for you to talk about your love story, because there's a lot of things that maybe people do know, or maybe only certain people are privy to, that you can kind of let them in on, right? Let them in on a joke, or let them in on what your journey to matrimony has really been like and looked like. I feel like even when it comes to speaking of the wedding planning process, I feel like a lot of couples have, ups and downs during the wedding planning process, but in these moments, they recognize why they picked the partner that they picked, right? Maybe they're navigating financial, whatever indifferences. Maybe they're navigating pressure from their family. Maybe they're navigating something going on health wise, and their partner was a rock for them, or they pivoted for them in that way, or they provided for them in that way. So even if you ain't want to go back from the very beginning, child, you can go back to from the moment you propose until where we are right now, because I'm sure that had its own challenges in just preparing for marriage. So I think that there's, again, a lot of opportunity to share your story. You just want to pick out what aspects do you want to share. Do you want to go romantic? Do you want to go funny? Like how do you want to share your story? And then, also if your officiant is sharing with you, maybe you can collaborate with them, right? There's been times where I've shared a story during during the ceremony, and then somehow, like in the vows, the story
They
almost
said the
picks
same
up.
story.
Yeah, they say the same story, or the story almost picks up where I left off and gave an insight to how this
The
person was
insight. Yep.
impacted,
I love
by
that
this
part.
by this engagement. So I love that. I love that. And there's definitely different ways that you can work together, again, with your officiant, making sure you're not saying exactly the same things, but it can be a part of, okay, maybe you start the story and then again, I pick it up in my vows. And now that's a creative way to bring everybody apart and still show people the impact, of that moment and why it's significant to y'all relationship.
Okay. Okay. So
Yes.
how would
I
you
love it.
say that, well, what advice would you give? Because like this is great. Like
Mhm.
all of the advice, okay, so I'm down memory lane and I'm having all of these beautiful memories come, and the pen don't work. Like, what does that advice do you give when
Yeah.
couples are struggling with writer's block? Or
Yeah.
feeling like trying to put their feelings into words and experiencing like, I know what I say, but it's caught right here in my throat. And then if you can also speak to when
Mm.
you should start writing your vows, as far as like the timeline in relation to your wedding. I'm curious about
Yeah.
your thoughts.
I always suggest to start early. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Start earlier than early. I'm talking about it in every single meeting that we have, just to see if it's an update, just to put it at the top of your mind, just to put it on your to-do list for the week. Okay. I'm just mentioning it because it can get, pushed back on your list of everything's to do and conversations to have with other people. And it can just feel overwhelming because it's a task within itself. So really starting early, I'll say 3 months minimum, honestly. And then you're also giving yourself space to be able to pick it up and put it back down, right? So that's the benefit of starting early. You get to pick it up and then you put it back down. So when you do have those brighter blocks or those moments where you feel like you're not quite communicating how you want to, because that's kind of me. Like I ain't gonna claim perfectionist no more, but I used to be someone who, if I can't figure out the right word to use, I would get stumped. And now I have to throw the whole sentence away. Actually, just take the paper. Just
to hear. Just throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I'll come back the weekend. And then I was like 2 weeks later, I'm like, all right, I have to finish this. So definitely start early so you can give yourself space and grace to
space and grace.
On.
That was the word that was in my mind too. Yes. Come on,
Give yourself space and grace to come back and pour back into this because you want this to be a labor of love, right? You don't want to confuse it and, let it be something that feels like another task or strenuous or anything like that. You want it to be a labor of love. So definitely coming back to. And then as far as advice for when you're struggling to kind of put from words to paper, I'm a proponent for speaking it out. Speaking it out, open up your apps, whether you have Apple, Samsung, whatever device you have, open up your apps and use the text to speech feature and speak it out. Just talk about it. Because a lot of the times we write how we speak, but we speak a lot more. So we try to condense it when we write it. And I feel like trying to do all of those movements at the same time can cause some of the frustration that leads to writer's block. I'm speaking to y'all, but I'm speaking to me, but I'm speaking to y'all. But more than that, yes, right. But the speaking it out has definitely helped a lot. And then on top of that, recording it so that I can come back to it, whether you're doing an actual video recording or you're using again, talk to text type of feature, saying it out loud, making sure it's recorded so that you can come back and then, put your finishing touches on it or use ChatGPT to help you with some filler sentences or condense some of the words because I'm a talker too. And now it's about 15 minutes and I ain't even, the prompt was this. And now I done talked all
the prompt was this.
How am I here? So yeah, definitely. So that would be my suggested timeline. Give yourself at least 3 months so that you can pick it up and put it down and, use different resources to kind of help you when you get stuck.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you? What is your suggestion?
Run. No, I'm just kidding. No. I am definitely a proponent of speaking it out. So what I always invite my couples to do is to do it while you're in the car by yourself. Because it's not like you have to take extra time. You're already in the car. You're already by yourself and you can turn off the radio. You can silence, do not disturb. And then you can get into a posture of talk. Yeah. And so I'm dittoing what you're saying, but I'm also providing context. It's easy to do it when you couple it with something that you're already doing.
Yes.
Because sometimes it's like, I got to clear my schedule to think about this so that I can posture myself to talk about my love. I mean, while you're planning a wedding, you barely have time to do all the things that you already want to do. And so it's one of those things where people can then get caught up in that and then again, throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
And so I invite you to do what Tierra said and speak it out loud. Use your app. If you have Apple, you turn on the notes feature, the accessibility feature on all of these phones, just click it on and put it in your notes and speak it out loud. Or what I like to do is voice record and do a playback of listening. So that I can get the voice inflection of what I want and hear the crack, get choked up a little bit when I talk about this or, just hear the emotion behind that and allowing yourself to feel how you felt when you wiped that, little bit of ketchup off their lip when it was your first date. Bring that emotion into how you're retelling your story while you're doing it alone. And so that's the tip that I give to speak it. and then have fun with it.
Yeah.
So that's my tidbit, because I'm always on the go, and I'm in LA, so there's traffic. So it's like folks are sitting in their car.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. No, I love that piece about sitting in your car, because then you're also, you're secluded, right? You're not like worried about being interrupted. I can put my phone on do not disturb. I can go to a park. I can change the scenery and put myself in an environment that's very relaxing to me. And now I'm by myself. And now I'm, again, speaking out. And it's easier for me. One thing about me, I'm like a voice notes, type of girly. I just always feel like yes, no, I am. Okay. I am. Because my mind goes quicker than my hands.
Absolutely.
So now I done forgot what I said, because my what is it? My type per minute is not elite. Okay.
She said it is not elite.
It's not. Okay.
These thoughts are, but this typing, it ain't translate. And if I may, I love what you said. You said to have to juggle all of those things at once, to have to translate into like what I think to what I want to say, to then write it out, to then get it out on paper. Like, that's a lot to maneuver. And I thank you for giving voice to that, because on top of the whatever feeling you have about the anticipation of delivery, of who you're speaking with, the emotions that come up as you're going down memory lane. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that's real.
No, that is real. And so I would love to hear another, real thing that I feel like people don't talk about a lot, but do you recommend rehearsing vows beforehand? Are you like, what do they call it? Like action, like you turn on the lights, you say your lines, and that's it. That's the first time you ever spoke it, and it is what it is. And so what do you suggest for your couples? And then 2, how do you ensure them, or at least give them peace of mind that, their delivery is going to be wrapped in sincerity and emotion. And so they don't have to worry about that piece. They just have to worry about reading the words correctly.
Yeah. So I have real conversations with them, like real conversations. And it depends. And I think that's where it's getting to know the couple beforehand, where I could be like, nah, Robert, daggone well you get stage fright.
Right.
You talk a good game behind the scenes. But look at your track record. Don't play on your wedding day.
Yes.
And I've had those conversations. Yeah. So write it out. At least do some bullet points. Because I've also seen people take that moment and they forget that is the moment we're all waiting for. But what tends to happen is that is the last moment people think of, the vows. Yeah. And so the moment we've all been waiting for, but you were focused on getting everything else wrapped around that moment ready. Yeah. And I've seen people bomb. Yeah. I've seen really horrible vows. Yeah. I was like, okay, that's the best you got. Yes. Right? And so I realized that for my couples who, I'm going to say it myself, or for couples who already have it written out or whatever, I always come with vows written as a backup.
That's a good one.
I don't always ask them to share them with me because of, they may have them written or, whatever the case may be. But I have vows that I say and can say with them on deck, on hand. I just skip it if they good.
Okay.
And so I have those conversations with the couple beforehand, and I always tell them, I move when you move, just like that. Yes. So if your vows in the moment don't feel like you can deliver, I got you. Yeah. Pass them here. It's a part of the plan. Yeah. Or I got some. Read mine. What you think? Yeah, yours better than mine. All right, then I got you. Look, I have those conversations. Yeah. And then we can also, depending on the couple and their context, I get to bring that in. Y'all, I have been tagged in to read aloud this beautiful letter because emotions have overcome our groom in a way that he can't express them right now because he's choked up. Yeah. So he's tagged me in, and I have gotten to love this couple along this journey up until now. And so it reads, So look at each other as I read it to you.
Yeah.
I can finesse a moment of, look, they ain't got to know you ain't right, that she ain't got no vows to really hear, and I'm the one that wrote them. I'm not going to have you looking like that.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, all that to say, I recommend rehearsal.
Yes.
Meaning rehearse your stuff. And if you are someone who believes that you are an extemporaneous speaker and you are profound at that moment, even if it is one of the biggest moments of your life,
right,
rehearse your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it don't hurt to rehearse.
Nope.
Because sometimes we can just get out the blah, blah, blah when we say it the first time. And then we can finesse it the second time. Yeah. The thing is, if this is your first time, you sound like blah, blah, blah. And you ain't finessed it yet. Right. So finesse it. I mean, you buff your shoes before you get up there. So why don't you practice before you get up there? Yeah. And so that's how I look at it. We iron our dress. We press our suit. We do all this preparation for the look of things. Mm-hmm. So why not give preparation for the reason we're here? Yeah. And so that's how I hold it. Because if you flubbing the vows, this why we was here. So that's my take.
I love that. That's hilarious.
And if my couples are nervous, I've had couples slide me their vows while we were up there, and they're like, and I can't. Yeah. And I can support them. Yeah. And I've had couples be like, no, I got it. You can pass them back. And I support them there. Mm-hmm. And so I always let them know conversation with us never stops. Yeah. Even up there. And so that's why I believe hiring a professional who can hold the pivots and changes, and I changed my mind, and oh my goodness, I'm too nervous. I thought I could. Mm-hmm. I'm prepared. Yeah. I got you. Yes. I can walk you through some I do's. Did you want to repeat after me? I got those too. Yeah. I am prepared to hold you. Mm-hmm. That's what I love about my job. That's what I love about my work and my ministry and how I hold people. I got you. Yeah. It doesn't stop when I submit my script. I got you up there and we talking up there, and I can make it look real good, and I can pause an entire ceremony and say, stop. Yeah. Give us a moment. Yeah. You know why? Because I got the mic. So
I love that.
That's my take. And that's my take. That's my take.
Yeah, I have to echo because rehearsing is very important. And I love how you spoke. It's like we prepare for every other aspect of this day, right? So yes, you tagged me in to lead the preparation for the ceremony, the wording for the ceremony, and the direction of the ceremony. But we're still a partner, you know what I mean, in this. So I'm tagging you throughout everything from the beginning to, the end, because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I'm here for. That's what you hired me for. So I'm checking in with you. Hey, do you want me to hold the microphone? Hey, I'm the one that's, giving you which rings and telling you when to do it and all of these different things. And I love how you spoke about having just a backup plan, right? And just imagine couples feeling that would make me feel better, just knowing you're going to have a backup plan the day of. I can want to write my vows from the moment I got proposed to. If I'm working with an officiant and they're like, listen, and even up until the day of, if you need to pivot, I literally got you, and I have a plan B prepared. I'm like, okay, cool. That alleviates stress even in the writing process. It's like, okay, if I feel like this ain't up to par, I know at least she working on something too.
She working on something. She got something.
Yes. Maybe we got to combine it, and that's just where we at with it. But it's just to know that. So I love that. So I agree. Definitely rehearse. Again, that's why we're saying start early, give yourself time. And like you said, when you read something for the first time, it sounds like you're reading it for the first time, whether it's because you're talking slower or the words ain't coming out right or the tongue just twisted, like whatever it is, right? We can tell. So, excuse me. So even something as simple as reading it a couple of times, reading it one time or maybe two times and listening it over and over again because you've recorded it and now you're just getting to listen to it. Even that will be a big help for the day of. And don't worry so much about like the sincerity and the emotions and, if you're going to cry, if your partner is going to cry, or even letting that be your goal. You know what I mean? It's so Let me tell you something. The emotions are so heightened just in the environment, just because of where we are, just because of what it is that we're doing. It's so heightened that you don't even have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Call that a guarantee, baby. Take it to the bank. It's already taken care of. Just show up.
That part. That part. And I love that. And one of the things that I will say is when there hasn't been this constructed cry, this prompted, this orchestrated acting, girl, stop.
Right.
Be present.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, if tears are how you respond to joy, they will come.
Yeah.
And so I feel like sometimes, with, like you said, speaking to this manufactured response to what should be joy, what's going to be good for the pictures. He's got to be boo-hooing when I come down that aisle. Well, what if that's not how he expresses joy?
Yeah.
And so I love that you spoke to that. And I feel like you're talking about this idea of managing expectations, like letting the people know, like, how do you let the people know actually to manage those expectations? I mean, I'm curious, like, okay, actually, I'm not curious because we talked a little bit about that. I think the biggest thing is, can you share any memorable or unique wedding vow moments that you've actually witnessed or heard? I think that's how I want to end our time together. Not about managing expectations. We just talked about that. How do we, what has blown your mind?
Yeah. I think one of the things, and I'll speak a little bit on managing expectations too, right? Because I think we think it's our responsibility to manage expectations when it's really not. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we take on that, like, you know, again, invisible pressure to feel like we have to do that, when in all actuality, it's a gift that you are here to witness whatever happens today. It don't matter what happens today. It cannot go as planned. You just here to witness. Enjoy.
You just here to bear witness. Sit down.
It don't matter. It don't matter. So I don't even want to manage your expectations. I don't even, I'm not even taking on that responsibility. I got to manage my own. You know what I mean? Like, who has time to take on the expectations of the guests? It's 130 y'all, 150 y'all, 200 y'all, 10. It don't matter. It doesn't matter.
One too many. For me to manage on my wedding day.
Absolutely.
I love that.
So let's start there. Let's always remember that the role and the opportunity that the guests have is, again, to witness, to celebrate with us, to be a benefactor of all of our hard work and dollars with this beautiful venue and the amazing food and drinks and activities that you're going to, you know, get to partake in with us. So that's my 2 cents on that. But
it was more like $2. I look, because I was like, that was money.
Yes. Listen, and I'm that girl. So yes, we ain't worried about that. But I would say my most memorable vows, oh my gosh, it's hilarious because the videographer did like a clip of this. But so I had a couple who like met in college at a kickback. And they ain't never looked back because they still together, tied a knot, everything. Yes.
Look back.
They ain't even look back. But it's hilarious because at the end of her vow, she goes, "Welcome to Death Row Records." Child, I almost fell out. Because it was just so culturally like appropriate and hilarious and so true to her personality. And his response was just like the straight face, which is so true to his personality. And nobody expected that to come out her mouth. And so I love the surprise element of that, right? Because we're always thinking lovey-dovey, romantic, boo-hoo, tearjerker. But when you come out there with something funny and something that resonates to your like generation and your culture, I just feel like that was chef's kiss. And so the videographer takes that clip out, and then as she's like, you know, finishing saying it, he like drops like the sunglasses on top of her. Come on, epic.
I mean, that's a mic drop moment. Like, I wish I had a mic to drop. Like, what? I love it. Okay.
So good. Those are my favorite. That's the one I remember, like in the forefront of my forehead. Okay.
Hilarious. I mean, because it was right off the dome. You said, got it. Got it. Pick me. Got a question, got an answer. Yes.
What about you?
I would probably say the one I mentioned earlier about how he made a playlist and shared his playlist in the form of vows. I was like, oh, so we finessing it like that? Okay. The hips don't lie, do they? Right? It was like, I said, oh, sorry, Miss Jackson. What? Like, so it was just like all of the things. I'm like, oh, he really doing this.
Yeah.
So I would probably say that was fun. It got us on our toes. We all understood, like you said.
Yeah.
It was very much appropriate to, we understand, because that's on our playlist.
Yeah.
Because that's on our like Spotify. That's on our like, that's us.
Yeah.
So I love that moment when folks get to be themselves.
Yes.
In their vows, and they let us bear witness to them being them.
Yeah. Yeah. And on top of that, seeing their partner, like their response, like, take them in, and it's a moment where it's like, girl, I can't believe you just did that. I knew your crazy behind would do that. Like, you know what I mean? It's something
that
where I know.
I love the banter.
Yes.
Up there afterwards. Like, oh, I said the same thing. Or yours was real good. Or I should have went first. Or that was cute.
Yep.
All of it.
No, yeah, those moments where, again, you just see the excitement, you see the love, you feel the love, and it isn't a moment that we do be anticipating. I have to agree with you. It's a high anticipation moment within the ceremony that people are looking forward to. So we have to encourage you as officiants, as people who do this work and support you on that day and in this type of way in terms of preparation. Take it from us. Take it from us. I really hope that you guys took everything that we shared. It was so much wedding wisdom in here. It don't even make no sense. My cup is empty. I don't know about yours. As if you guys see, we went black today. Oh man, yeah. So until we sip again, we thank you guys for listening to this episode. Make sure to subscribe, share, like, comment, give us what you think. Throw some tips in there for anyone who has done their vows already. Give some tips to people who are preparing for it. Officiants out there, throw some prompts. Help the fiancés out, okay?
Help the fiancés out. I love it.
Yes. Help them out, okay? But until next time, we will see you on Filter Through Coffee. Bye, guys.
Bye. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Filter Through Coffee. We've enjoyed serving up some wedding wisdom with a splash of melanin and some culture. Until we sip again, remember, your wedding journey is like a perfectly brewed cup of coffee. Flavorful, bold, and uniquely yours.